You guys are creating pieces that will have legacy long after you're here.
See them as a piece of art. Jewellery is not a throwaway thing.
And I'm very passionate about this. Like, how much should I tell you the
Give me
truth?
the real.
Made me redundant in the most random way, and I'm just like, I want to learn a skill which no one can't take away from me.
You know, obviously the engagement ring, everyone's like diamond. No? This is a recurring theme in like every conversation in terms of what client wants.
So many people like, I've seen this ring in Bond Street for like 12 grand.
Can you do 4 or 5?
Yeah.
What would you say is like a common misconception about jewelry design as an industry?
Because they think automatically, oh, you make jewellery, you have money.
I couldn't get a job. Sick of trying to volunteer and get into the industry. I just start myself. They say that they're doing the best and I'm going to get a certificate. And realise no one cares about the certificate. No one cares about your diploma.
You're only as good as your last job.
And anything in the arts which you pay for, it's really expensive. My master's was cheaper than me learning how to do MBQ equivalent of making jewellery. If I knew what I knew now, I should have went.
Welcome back to Enjoy the Collective, the home of independent creatives seeking the real insights into the creative industry and what it takes to work for yourself. I'm your host, Marseille, and whether you're freelancing, studying, or thinking about it, then consider this your all-access pass behind the scenes to mastering your own creative practice. I am so pleased to introduce to you guys 2 passionate jewelry designers. We have Kassandra, who is the first jewelry designer of residence at Kensington Palace and has over 10 years experience in fine jewelry. Alongside Kassandra, we have Darren, who is a specialist bespoke diamond mounter and CAD designer of high-end jewelry and owner of Sherwood Jewelry. Yeah? Okay, cool. It's kind of like you hate each other, that's all.
Now you know.
Okay, cool.
It's all out.
The main aim of the podcast, I know you guys are busy people, so the main aim of the podcast is really just to shed a light on the amazing diverse creatives that are in the creative industry, the work that we do, and all the different industries, so that those who are coming up kind of have an idea of like what there is. Because I think a lot of people kind of stumble into things, they don't necessarily have a good grasp on what's available. So it's really just kind of making that as accessible as possible and then sharing your journey. First question. How would you describe your design aesthetic?
Look at you, Darren.
Yeah, not me.
So,
Design
Wealth of knowledge.
aesthetic. I would.
Well, yeah, like your approach to jewelry design.
My approach would be more engineering based. So,
Okay.
because I was brought up in the whole traditional jewelry side of things, so it's more working with higher end. Everything has to be really accurate when it comes to angles and proportions. So my thing is more engineering based approach to making jewelry as opposed to a very artistic approach that a lot of other craftspeople do.
Right. Is there a crossover in your work necessarily?
Yes, but even that, I would say, you know, these rings, for example, they're fully sculpted using 3D modeling. But even those are highly engineered to the point where you have to kind of go under a microscope to see the chips and the cracks in the teeth and the detail on the inside of the mouths that you can't see with your naked eye.
Right.
But they're just over-engineered just because that's the way I approach all my work.
Right. When you say engineered, do you mean detail?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I always go for the highest amount of detail possible within a piece.
Okay.
In everything I do. So,
okay.
Yeah.
And what about for you, Kassandra?
So when you said aesthetic, how to that question is what it visually looks like, maybe
Yeah,
not the approach. So with my lovely art life, I would say something like alchemy of just pretty stones, metaphors, narrative, and intersectionality. And I don't want to be like, it's just.
But what do you mean by that?
I was going to break that down. It's because of the way how I've lived my life and how I got here via lots of countries and parents, and how I got here. My heritage and my life goes into my work naturally.
Can you give an example of how that presents itself visually?
Okay, cool. So one of the rings I'm wearing, it has like little signature like braids. And how I see like hair and braids is like texture. It's that one thing which all humans have, whether we like it or not. But you could be a Caucasian person, you could be an Asian person, it could be a
Yeah.
black person. All of us has hair, and all of us have kind of like a braid.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're all different, but we're all one. So I feel like using that, especially, and I have my heritage. I always wear braids. I try to infuse that in my work. Like always try to think out narratives and metaphors which I can put into like fine jewelry. That's how I see it.
So what about for you in terms of like, you've kind of spoken about your own heritage and culture playing a big part in your like inspiration for your aesthetic. What would you say has been like the biggest influence to your aesthetic in terms of it being like the detail, the engineering?
Strangely enough, carnival.
Yeah. Tell me more.
Yeah. Because I grew up in Trinidad.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing. How long was you there for?
Family's Trini. So we were there for 7 years.
Wow.
From the age of 6 till 14-ish, something like
Wow.
that. And I pretty much grew up in mask camps making costumes.
Wow.
So over there, and my parents used to make costumes over here before we went. So learning the whole engineering side of things there, because when I was growing up, we had Peter Mitchell, and he does humongous costumes. They were in the opening ceremonies for the Olympic Games and all that.
Right. Okay.
And watching him and the influence that he, how creative this guy was, and pretty much a lot of the designers over there, how creative they are. And they can make things out of nothing. That was the first step into, I want to do something artistic. Whereas Trinidad is very much nothing creative. It's all do your bookwork.
Right.
So when I came back to England, I was like full on in art. That was it. And
do you feel like any of those early experiences, so it influenced your step into creativity and art, but would you say it presents itself in any visual way in your like jewelry pieces?
In some of my design stuff, yes.
Okay.
I would say it does, because the pieces I design have to fit the body as well as a carnival costume will fit a body. That's my biggest issue. When it comes to jewelry is very restrictive. You're set with a finger size.
Yeah.
Has to fit around the neck.
True.
A tiara or whatever. So to make that as form-fitting as possible, or practical to wear on a daily basis, those are the things that I always aim for in jewelry. I don't, the things with stones are 15 foot up in the air and all that kind of stuff. I just don't get involved.
Not for you.
No. So that's kind of where I go with my stuff. So it has stuck with me.
The element of like functionality, practicality, fit.
And the bright colors. I always go for colors in my own stuff. So gemstones, a lot of color gemstones, and diamonds are always a kind of an added to shine light onto the center stone, which is probably going to be a colored stone as opposed to a diamond being the center stone. The main attraction.
What do you mean shine light on? Well,
it's just more or less to frame, to enhance or to frame the center stone, or to add attraction to it. Whereas a lot of people want a diamond, and I'm like, it's not really for me. I'm not a huge diamond fan. I love them, but not that much.
When you say gemstone, you mean like a sapphire,
sapphires,
ruby,
emeralds, tourmalines, paribas.
Right. So this is maybe like obviously not something I put in there, but as you're saying that, it's making me think about, obviously engagement rings. Everyone's like diamond.
Absolutely.
No?
It was
yeah,
it was just a great marketing ploy by De Beers. That was all. It was never been diamonds before they found the Kimberley mine. It's always been the Kimberley mine in South Africa.
Right.
Until they found that, diamonds were rare.
Right.
And so everyone went for rubies, sapphires, emeralds. And then after that, De Beers had a load of diamonds they needed to flog, so they paid off a load of people.
That's crazy.
It's great marketing.
I mean, you find that most things are these days, aren't they? Like you kind of buy into a lot of these things that are just not actually that helpful.
Yeah.
So we've both kind of touched on a little bit.
Sorry.
Yeah?
Because there was two things. So I just have to. There was two things like I heard in these like in the question. So you talked more about the approach, and now you just went back into like the aesthetics. I started with aesthetics, but I never talked about my approach.
Yeah.
So I have like these 3 C's. So like in diamonds, you have your 4 C's, right? I have like 3 C's, which is like concepts, culture, and connection. So I always start with the narrative, like what is the story I want to tell? So that's the conceptual.
Right.
And then I think about culture. So I think about my culture or the person who I'm making for, just to elevate the taste and just elevate like what are we doing? Where is it positioned? And then the first is connections. I always see like jewelry is a bit, it can strengthen relationships, the strengthening tool.
Between yourself and the client, or between the client and
whoever is, myself or the client. Could be because sometimes I don't just happen to you when sometimes you make an engagement ring, you get invited to their wedding or engagement party.
Really?
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that happens.
Do you go?
I go to engagement party. I haven't been to a wedding.
Okay.
I've been to an engagement party.
Trying to avoid a wedding and just go to the reception.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd imagine it's quite like intimate. Everyone's like maybe feeling quite emotional, and you're like, I don't really know you, but I'm happy for you.
They're like, that's the jeweler who made my thing. I was like, okay, but I think they're just so appreciative. They're just so appreciative, and it's part of their milestone. So that's one. Relationship with yourself, connection with yourself, and jewelry is like a memento, isn't it, of a milestone, an experience, something in their life. So they could be remembering somebody, they could be changing their status, or they just give it as a gift. So, I guess if you had a first date with somebody, say where we are, and someone gave you a diamond, it's a bit too much, isn't it?
Yeah.
You have to be serious. But if someone gave you...
There has to be a level of rapport for that level
rapport,
of gift.
time, whatever, before you give something of sentimental and precious value. So, that's how I see jewelry. I don't know if I always see jewelry differently, but no.
No, but I think it's helpful because it's still a craft at the end of the day, and so like your relationship with your craft is going to be slightly different to someone else's relationship with that maybe same craft or a different. Do you know what I mean? I was going to go into the other question, but I think as you guys are talking, it's like making me think stuff. So when you spoke about creating these like intimate pieces for people, whether it's something sentimental or something that's a memento or anything like that, do you feel a sense of pressure or like a sense of responsibility to tell that story or meet that client's like expectation?
I would say when I started, I was like that.
Yeah.
Like you would be with anything, I suppose. When you're not that confident or in your own skills, or you don't have enough experience in certain things. But now I've kind of got used to it, dealing with a lot of clients with not much of an idea, and then you kind of figure out how to pick what their bits are, and you kind of put it together. Oh my God, that's exactly what I thought of. Like, yeah, I get it. But yeah, I think that comes with experience. You do get better as you go along, and also a lot of clients don't know what they're talking about, and they throw ideas at you, and you kind of had to guide them to something that's practical, because you can make something that they want, but they're not going to be able to wear it because it's just stupid.
This is a recurring theme in like every conversation in terms of what client want versus what client actually needs and can.
Budget as well.
And budget, I want this. Let me
tell you, being a jeweler, you manage. I don't know about in your interviews. Yeah. That skill of managing expectations
with the budget,
with anything in my life,
just ridiculous.
Especially dealing with clients with budget, and it's not like I'm trying to extract things from people. It's not that. I think I take that in my life. I think I'm really good. Like being a jeweler helps me, or making bespoke jewelry helps me manage expectation of people. I'm very to the point. Like, listen, this is the parameters. This is what I can do. This is what I can't do. Don't chat to me after if I can't do this bit.
I've had so many people like, I've seen this ring in Bond Street for like 12 grand.
Can you do
I've got 500 to spend. Can you get something close? I'm like, nah, not even if it was fake.
Sorry, I don't want to take over, but there's something. you're more how do you deal with that? Because I'm trying to have more empathy with that.
I don't have any empathy.
Okay, how
At
do you deal with
all.
that?
I
Is it just like, nah,
you
sorry?
matter.
No, but hold on. But sometimes they just genuinely don't. So I have to take people where they're at sometimes.
There's an education that probably needs to happen.
But sometimes I think people take the P, and
Yeah.
sometimes people literally don't have a clue. They just had this random budget or random, and they don't have the clue. So I try to have more empathy and like, or ask them questions like, "Do you really think? I know you saw that at Tiffany's for X amount, and you think you because gold is gold, and people and people think, look, I don't know about
Other
like
industries.
architectural firms or design firms where there's like paper is paper and you got your CAD and
Yeah.
But with jewelers,
Something physical.
it's something physical, and the prices of gold and gemstones
You
they
don't
fluctuate. We
you
don't
determine the
dictate
price.
it.
Yeah.
We don't dictate it. So like gold goes up twice. I mean, can change like twice a day. So so
Wow.
it depends what time you call me. I'm double checking because I've been caught out before.
Right.
In pricing because of things just changing since COVID. Everything's just been a bit weird. With like pricing things. When people say, "Oh, usually I just give a price on the spot," I'm like, let me get back to you. Let me check first before I give before I give a price because I don't want to get because I can't go. I wouldn't go back to the customer and say, "Well, actually, give me an extra X
because
amount,"
the prices.
because I've done the price. But going back to the point, I'm just learning to have more empathy with that, and also I feel it's my responsibility as a designer to show the value of my designs and my prices, so that would hopefully signal some of the people to say, look, you can't just come to me with £200 and expect X amount. Because I try not to get offended when they go to me. I've been to Hatton Garden or I've been on Blue Nile, the website, and they said they can get this, and can you do me a discount? Something. I don't mind discount the word, but it's when they shopped around and they feel, oh, I'll just try Kassandra, see if I can get a deal. I don't know if my name's Kassandra from, Del Boy or whatever, get a deal, you know what I mean? I don't know what it is, but, my name starts with a K, not a C, right? And there's something triggering. I don't know when they feel like.
Do you think it's because as an independent designer, like they know they can't go to like Tiffany's and be like, I would like 15% off. As an independent designer, there's more of a dialogue, more of a conversation.
I think this is why I need to work out, maybe in counseling or something. It's probably sometimes is how people approach you. It's the lack of respect. And I don't know, is it because I've not seen as high regard yet, as a certain those type of heritage brands.
Right.
Or they're just like, rah, she's a sister or she looks a bit young or whatever. And I'm just going to try and get something out of it. And I don't know how to deal with that.
I think the issue is that they think that all these big brands have such a huge markup they can give you discount.
Right.
And
Okay.
if they have such a huge markup, then you're obviously because they think automatically, oh, you make jewelry, you have money. Like, no, our money goes to pay for our next job that we have to make because gold is so expensive.
Right.
And I remember when I started in the industry, because we are a craft at the end of the day, we're not artists, we're craftspeople. And if you look on Crafts Council and you see art and you see craftspeople, we're in the same bracket.
What would you say the difference is?
We're in the same bracket. People are like wicker basket makers.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying anything bad about wicker basket makers because I have no idea how the hell they make that, and I think half of them are really cool. But in the big scheme of things, we're not seen in high regard. You'll remember the name of Tiffany, but do you know why that name is famous? Do you know why the Cartiers are famous? Do you know why Fabergé is famous?
Right.
And no, you just know the brand.
Right.
And that's the issue. And I mean, a lot of jewelry designers now, they have such huge backing. The famous ones now, they have massive backing. Very few of them are self-made and got to that position.
When you say backing, what do you mean? Like investment?
VC. Some got VC money.
Yeah.
What does VC mean?
Venture capital.
Right, got you.
A lot of them have investors. And you have to, because when you think about it, how many, the size of a showcase, say it's, 12, a foot square.
Right.
How many rings can you fit in that foot to make your shop look full? You know, when you look at Cartier and their love bangles, how many love bangles do you see on display in their showcases? They're like, what, £7,000 worth of gold alone without making anything. It's just the sheer metal weight. And you just think, well, that's a lot of money just sitting there.
Yeah.
So, but they've got the Richemont Group. I think they run them or manage them. So it's investment.
What would you say is like a common misconception about jewelry design as an industry? Because I think as you're touching on these things about the price of gold constantly fluctuating, like venture capitalists in terms of investment to be able to get your brand to a certain level.
It all depends on where you want to be.
Right.
My thing is with jewelry, a lot of people are just content with making. That's why they got into it. And that's their craft, and they enjoy. They don't need to be hugely rich and famous. They don't need to be massively wealthy. They just need to be comfortable and doing what they do that they love doing every single day. Because it doesn't seem like a job to me. That's why I can work till whatever time in the morning because I love what I do. Yeah, and you know, it really does depend on where they want to be.
Right.
What do you mean? So you're saying like, do you want to be like a company, a brand?
Or do you want to do it for the
trader?
Well, it depends how big you want to get. Do you want to be the size of Graf?
Okay.
But then do you know the amount of everything else that goes with it?
That's I understand. But then, you know,
then you're taken fully away from your creativeness.
I understand that.
And a lot of
well, this is a conversation we were touching on a little bit in terms of being, what did I say? A practitioner versus being a business. So when you're a practitioner, like you're focused on the craft and excelling in your craft and honing those skills. But then as a business, you have to divide your time.
Yeah.
So it's either you're paying someone to necessarily manage the business side of things, or you are.
Yeah.
And then you're maybe delegating out some of the actual making aspect of things. And I think that's the part that's really challenging that I've seen across the board for creatives and creative businesses who are self-employed. Like, you generally get into something because you love it. You love the craft of it. You love the making. But then it's the practical side of it being a business, making money, paying a mortgage, buying a house, sending kids to school. Do you know what I mean? Like, making money is a big part of it. And so...
And it depends how you get. Oh, you going to say something? No. It depends how you get into the jewelry industry. So I'm guessing how you got into the jewelry industry. You worked for somebody, right? That's how you learned.
Well, I went the art college route.
Wait, let's start from the beginning. So how did you both get into the industry?
I think you start first, and then I can.
I went to Central St. Martin's, did a foundation course.
Oh.
Because I thought I wanted to be a sculptor.
Okay.
Then I did sculpture, and my tutor went, "Yeah, ain't made for you, is it?" I went, "Nah." It's like way too technical, you know. I'm way too technical for sculpture, and that's where my appreciation for fine artists came from, because their mindset is completely different to anyone else. They're just very free in what they do. And he said, "Yeah, try jewelry. It might be for you." And I tried that and product design. I specialized in jewelry, and then went to Kent Institute of Art and Design, and specialized in jewelry, goldsmithing, and silversmithing, where I'm more or less specialized in silversmithing. Got to work for a really cool.
Hold on, sorry, I don't want to interrupt.
Yeah.
But when you say silversmithing, do you mean like the silversmithing
like
of
making
the
big stuff?
Like making big stuff? So just a technical thing.
No.
So we were talking like the pots, the spoons, all those type of things.
Really,
Wait,
really
sorry.
big.
When you say pots and spoons, you mean like in your house, the stuff in your house?
No, but in silver, so they're very high end.
So, okay.
I worked for a guy who made loads of stuff. He's a huge silversmith company, and I was lucky enough to work for him for a few projects and stuff. And he made these 50-foot, well, 50, I think there were 100 in total, life-size palm trees, fully made out of silver, gilt, gold palms.
What's this
with
for?
a big lapis base.
Rich people.
For the Arabs.
Oh, okay.
And each of these trees held 5 cakes. It was all for a pie.
Shut up.
The tree, you're talking life-size palms.
Yeah.
Life-size palms. And we made loads of these things, and the clocks and tea caddies and all that out of silver. It's amazing. I only worked for him because he used to make swords for them. And I really want. It's one of my things. I really want to make a sword.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, go work for him. He'll show you how it's done. It's like, sweet. Never got to make a sword.
Wow.
But got to make some other stuff. And then
Okay.
from there, I when I left uni, I got a job with an ex-Cartier guy, and he trained me up.
That's amazing.
So yeah, we
But what
just
did he train you up? So I have to know the technical.
yeah.
What did he? What
She should be
specialism?
swapping with me.
No, because just this is for my benefit.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
for
yeah,
my
got it, got it,
benefit.
got it.
This is for my
Yeah.
benefit.
So he trained me up in traditional diamond mounting. So
Okay.
he was like everything down to the point of the finish on things, the proportions, the angles,
The back holes.
the back holes, how everything has to be, using a saw, passing back holes by hand.
Diamond mounting? Is that
Diamond mounting.
placing?
So you're mounting your metalwork to your stone.
Yep.
But it's just I've been told it's like a higher end training. So it takes
Okay.
8 years to become a proficient diamond mounter.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's day in, day out. And I mean, when I started, we were working, I would say straight after Carnival. So when September hit, that's when the Christmas rush used to start.
Mm-hmm.
And we would be in there from 7 in the morning till midnight every day. Every day. And then I'll go home and do private work after that. So
When were you sleeping?
you don't sleep much.
Okay.
It depends.
It
It depends on how much.
it.
I have that kind of mentality where I want to try to be not so much the best at something, but the best I could be at something. So if I'm not happy with something, I will work on it until I'm good at it. So a lot of the CAD programs I learned solid without sleep, and I'll just keep going until I learn everything. That's how I kind of function.
You seem to have had. You may have been the first guest that's had a very seamless route. It seems like into the industry,
Yeah.
like a very traditional route, and then
Yeah.
quite seamless in terms of people, being open to training you up.
Well, I think the thing is, with the industry, I kind of did the idiot's route. I went to university.
Yeah.
The best route I should have done was apprenticeships, but
That's the best route.
school's head will never try to get you into apprenticeships because it doesn't make them money.
Right.
And it was very, we never heard of apprenticeships.
I know.
Ever. It didn't exist, or
Right.
even though they were out there. But then, it is down to because I use my hands a lot and tried to push myself in uni to try to push my skills. That's why I got that first job.
Right.
It wasn't, he interviewed a lot of people before me, and
Right.
there is no point employing someone that you're going to have to struggle to get up to speed. So I get it that it's very difficult to get into the trade, but a lot of people are very lazy. At the end of the day, they think, oh, I want to become a jeweler. I'm just going to roll in there. I've done some wire bending and this, that, and the other. I'm like, no.
Why did you do that?
I'm just saying. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
but maybe you didn't. But maybe you didn't know.
But no, I get it. I get that. But
no, but this is the
when you
proper
want to get
practice.
into the high end stuff.
Look, I get you. I get you.
You've got to. And now it's easier than ever because you can just go on YouTube and learn how to make stuff.
Yeah, that's
Before
what
I got in, there were no brothers in the trade. There were 5 of us, I think.
Really? You knew them all by name?
Yeah, five guys in high end jewelry that I know of. I don't know anybody else. To this day, I don't know anybody.
So, like, who's dominating the space?
I was all it.
For the heritage brands.
It's the heritage brands, yeah.
Okay.
So from there, went to Graf, worked for them for a few years. Worked for Stephen Webster and Garrard. Then went self-employed after that.
So which one's your last one?
Stephen Webster and Garrard. Garrard with the Crown Jewelers. Yeah.
I got you.
Well, I want to get into the your self-employed journeys like after, but I do want to hear your journey
so my
into jewelry.
That's why I feel so personal. I'm just making the joking person. Okay. So I went. I don't know if yours idiot proof. I mean, might not. If you said you were idiot route, I went from fool's route. Then so I never knew about this jewelry life until my 20s, right?
What was you doing before that?
Okay, I think at the time I was working for a drugs charity. I was like managing like programs for people who had substance misuse.
Right.
All that kind of stuff. Anyway. So they made me redundant in the most random way, and I'm just like, what? And then I was like, I said to myself, I'm not going to be made redundant again. I was, but anyway, I'm not going to be redundant again. But if I was going to be redundant or made redundant, I want to learn a skill which no one can't take away from me. Something I can make with my hands, so no one can take it away from me, no matter what job. If I get redundant again, I did like twice after. I always have something. So I thought, all right,
I like that.
what does everyone wear? And I thought, oh, jewelry. I always loved jewelry, but I never knew in it. And I started doing
Bending wires?
I was wire wrapping. I was wire wrapping queen. I could wire wrap I could make tiaras. I could make, back in the day, that was X amount of years ago, I could wire wrap really well because I was just wire wrapping. Then I went into perspex, or acrylic jewelry.
Okay.
So if you heard like brands like Tatted Divine, which are known for it, or was the first person, even people doing acrylic jewelry for ages.
Right.
For the brand, people just assume they're the only people who do acrylic.
Right.
And every time I was trying to sell my stuff wholesale to shops, they'd be like, oh, you're like Tatted Divine. I'm just like, how does that work? Because there's 10 million people who do gold and silver jewelry. And just because someone uses that same metal, so I was like, I can't be every 2 seconds, everyone's calling me Tatted Divine.
Right.
And also I was in East London, they're in East London.
Right.
It was a long, anyway. And then I was like, you guys are not you. The royal you is not taking me seriously. So that's when I thought I've got to do precious metals, because no one's going to argue with precious metals, right? Right. While I was still working,
precious metals being gold and silver.
Gold, silver, platinum, anything, anything you could put a hallmark on, right? So for nearly 5 years, while I was still working, doing like running like youth services and just like in management, I learned my bench skills, basic bench skills, like once or twice a week. So nearly 5 years of Saturdays, doing short courses.
5 years.
Yeah, Saturdays, every Saturday apart from when it's like Christmas or something.
Yeah.
I did like a course at this place. On a Monday or a Wednesday evening, I learnt my design skills. So I was learning the manufacturing side, my bench skills.
Okay.
On the bench, and then on a Monday or Tuesday for like 3 years, I was learning the designing side.
Wow.
Part-time.
You grafted.
I'm paid for that all by myself. So, and it was a horrible experience.
Why?
Because they when you are not 16 to 19 in that government age, when they try this, try that, and and when you're paying for it, when you're seen as a mature student after 21 years old, and anything in the arts which you pay for, it's really expensive.
Yeah.
My master's, I've got 2 degrees I don't use. My master's was cheaper than me learning how to do MVQ equivalent of making jewelry.
The ridiculous thing is as well, it's like you can be shown something and it would still, you'll get it, you'll understand it, and it would still take you 3 years to actually become proficient in it. That's you practicing every day. And it's not like a case of, oh, I learned how to cut and paste something. And no, you have to put the time in, because you need muscle memory in your hands. That's the only way you're going to learn it. Some people are naturally gifted and things come a little bit quicker, but we still have to put the time in.
Yeah.
Sounds like both of you really did, though.
Can I tell you my longest
keep going.
All right. So I think what you say is true, because like filing, like even the basics, like if you ask me to file now, don't ask me as much. But when I was doing it, I could file really, really good. And the thing is that you have to be
Is filing more to do with like the shaping?
Shaping, like, because the thing is, you have to do something, you have to be very accurate.
Yes.
Because the angles, it'll be off. If it's off,
yeah,
and you're asking someone to pay X amount of grand for it,
yeah,
it's just quality control. So you have to be precise with certain things. Like anyway. So after and also the reason why I say it was horrible, and I'm very passionate about this. And this is where you talked about how much should I tell you the truth.
Give me the real.
Sometimes, yeah, I don't know. All right, I'm just gonna be honest. Let me get into my soapbox now, right? Because this is real, right? And if you want to do jewelry and you're a mature person, right? I feel like when you go to these adult educational courses or whatever, there at the time when I was studying, there is a stereotype I'm making a very crude stereotype. There are people who are yummy mummies, or they were it's their second career, or they're just dibble dabbing, they're a bit hobbyist, right?
Right.
Or they're bored housewives. So they're paying this money, which is probably not probably their money, to these institutions, which are very, very expensive to learn the arts, because we're mature students. We've got to pay thousands and thousands of pounds to learn these
Skills,
these
yeah.
skills. The institution lie to you, say, yeah, you're gonna learn this, you're gonna learn that, you're gonna learn this, you're gonna learn, and they don't. They just teach you things which you wouldn't usually do, like how to make a hinge. All right, you'd make a hinge, but in my life, making engagement rings, I wouldn't make a hinge. Why do I have to learn to make a hinge? It doesn't make sense.
Would that
right?
be for like a locket or something?
Oh yeah, for a locket. And the way how you make, and it's an old school hinge, and I wouldn't make it in my normal life. So I'm paying thousands of pounds to make something which I would never use in my life. Why don't they teach me how to make a proper engagement ring? Why don't they teach me how to find proper diamonds and calculate it and don't get caught out? So when I went to
and this isn't like outlined clearly. This wasn't outlined clearly like in the course description.
So when you're a novice, I didn't realize.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, they say that they're doing the best, and I'm going to get a certificate. And realize no one cares about no one cares about your certificate. No one cares about your diploma.
You're only as good as your last job.
Only as good as your last job.
That's it.
And if people can vouch for you.
Yeah.
So let me tell you that. So I'm saying to you, if you go and do your course, yeah, you go to a certain an academy or a school, manage your expectations.
Okay.
Manage it really, really well, because and I have to say one more thing. I know you're going to go into it, but I have to. If you send to give advice, right?
Yeah, no, go
before you spend your thousands of pounds of money with these institutions, they promise you the world. A lot of people don't take the course seriously because of what I said. It's some people just hobbyists. Me, I'm not a hobbyist. I was there to how do I be a jewelry designer? How do I be a jewelry person? Yeah. So, and also there's an element of competition and scarcity information with the tutor, because the tutor is a jewelry designer. So they don't want to even tell you stuff. They don't even want to tell. And I'm just like, so I want to know how to do this, or go to a supplier or whatever. They're supposed to teach you. They want to keep the information, because they're like, if I tell you,
gatekeeping basically.
So I'm just like, I'm paying this money. You don't want to tell me. You don't want to teach me. And then if you leave the course or you complain, you don't get your money back. So I was like, I sunk the cost, just screwing, paying thousands of pounds. My mental health going down because I paid thousands of pounds for this course, and I have to go through it, and they don't care because you're not 16 to 19. You're not getting government money to teach you. There's no targets, and they're teaching. When I went to 3 different institutions, they're treating it like it was like a lunch club. I'm like, this is not lunch club money. So sorry, I had to get that out.
No,
all
that's
right.
fine.
And even when you leave, sorry, Darren, sorry. Even when you leave.
Wait. I just want to ask, what would you recommend? So I understand.
Be an apprentice.
I understand.
When you're 16 to 19. Go ahead. No, be an apprentice. That's the only way you will learn properly.
You can get an apprenticeship.
Which is kind of like after you studied, you had an apprenticeship, would you say?
I had something of an apprenticeship.
Okay.
But apprenticeships happen between, you have to kind of sign up around 16 to 17.
Oh.
With the government,
I think it's up to 19.
Yeah.
But the reason for that is you don't realise how much of a sponge you are at that age.
Right.
Like the things you'd learn and how quickly you'll pick it up at that age in comparison to when you're 20 is a huge difference. It's massive.
What about for a mature student? If you're saying that apprenticeships are...
Honestly, find somewhere in your house, like a little alcove, go and get a worktop, cut a little U out, buy yourself a pin, and then practice. YouTube and practice. And then check out Goldsmith Centre. Ask them for advice. They're super helpful. And then don't spend any money unless you really need to. Spend your money on tools.
So would either of you recommend any form of design education?
It depends on which route you want to go. If you want to become a designer, then yes, go to the art colleges, learn your trade that way.
I should have went to. So I made this one. I'm going very passionate. I made a mistake. If I knew what I knew now, I should have went to Central St. Martin or a design college. I did it because of the way how I think. I know you say you're not an artist, but like putting concepts together and explaining them and positioning and talking about your jewelry to a certain value and to a certain taste level. That is good. I went to like an adult educational kind of level where they didn't have that conceptual. Just make something or just design something. Oh, that looks nice. I'm like, why does it look nice? £8,000 for this. Why does it look nice? Oh, sorry. And I have to say this right. even if you do your course and you have all your certificates, who's going to employ you? Because you don't know nobody. Because once you paid your money for that course and it's the last day, like, here's your certificate, here you go.
Bye.
Fine. There's no alumni or alumnus. They don't want to help you. They took your money and don't want to tell you nothing. And then you go out and you're like, who do I talk to?
So how did you
Because I was annoying and persistent, and I spent my money and I knocked on doors like I was going to say what a bad name. I knocked on doors and cried, and it was a horrible experience.
How did you guys meet? Did you meet in the industry or just like separate?
I think it was.
Via Goldsmiths, yeah.
So you both have kind of touched on a bit about creating bespoke pieces, right? What would you say is your process for creating a bespoke piece for a client? You know, you spoke about detail being really important, managing expectations. What is that process like when you're creating a bespoke piece?
For me personally, the way I do it with a client, I'll want to see, because they always have an idea in their head.
Hold on.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sounds like yeah. They always have something in their head, like an idea of what they've seen, what they like, and I always tell them, just send me photos of everything you've got, WhatsApp them to me, email them to me. It doesn't matter where they're from. If they're graph and they're worth like 50 million, I don't care. You just show me the aspects of what you like.
Yeah.
And then tell me a bit of the story behind it, and then I'll come up with something.
On the phone, in person?
Either way.
Okay.
Either way, and then we can kind of sketch things out, doodle things. Now it's kind of I dealt with so many people over the years that I kind of whittle it down pretty quick, and I either design it or I'll 3D design it on CAD and send them the render or the video and say, is that kind of what you were hoping for? We can move things around and stuff like that. So
do you show them the initial sketches? Yeah. Before you go into render?
Yeah, we can get them to sign it off.
Okay.
You can take part payment there or then, or you take it before the design process starts, so at least you have a consultancy fee sorted, because sometimes they just go, go to someone else to make it now. So there are ways about it, but that's pretty much my route.
It's similar. It depends on depends on the client, because sometimes yes to everything what you said. I try to pre-screen, so I ask a question before I even meet them.
Yeah.
Because it's just the time.
Yeah.
Because people, remember I was talking about earlier about how I feel triggered when I feel like people just not honouring the people's time, or honouring just like you wouldn't be. I know they wouldn't go to Tiffany's or Cartier and just get all the information, have £200 and just drawing everything off them, and so I just prescribe. I asked a few questions about timelines, stuff like that, to see if they're serious or not. And even if they don't have enough money or whatever, I still want to chat to them, because I want to help them. I might say, look, you only got this much, you can't get this, but you can get this. I want them, or
give them some kind of options.
If you just simplify this bit of your design, maybe you could get what I try to give them options, you know what I mean? Because I know some people don't come from a lot of money, so I just want to make sure that give people options and they can make their informed choice. Similar to you, I do renders. Before, back in the day, I used to do, let me do a painting technical drawing without no money in my hand, because I want to show that I'm
so good at what I do.
And then they don't care.
Can I have that though?
Can I have it though?
No.
or they just preferred the CAD drawing. I'm like, well, have the CAD drawing.
Do you frame any of those pieces that you spent time painting?
Yes. Yeah. I still do sometimes the technical drawings. And what I do now, I use especially for rings, I give out the wax, the wax. So just in case, because with my expectation management, because sometimes even if you show someone a picture,
they don't get it.
Sometimes they don't get it, and I'm like,
it's very strange actually. Like non-creatives, they do not get it. They can't see things in 3D.
Yeah.
And
they can't see it in 2D either.
No, they can't see it in 2D. It's like, I don't get it. It's like,
yeah.
Especially about the proportions, because I'm a person, I don't know about you, I'm like, I rather design slow and make quick, because once I start going into that metal,
Yeah, it's hard
And
to.
I source everything. I'm not in the most loving way. I'm not going back because this is what we signed. I guess like when you do your brand and when you do your design, you know, you go through your visions. You're like, this is so I make sure I take my time before I get into the metal because I won't go back. So it you know, it could be a process. How long? It could be weeks.
Yeah.
It could be weeks.
What, as in terms of the like consultation, research,
just with the
development
design,
process?
just with the design bit.
I basically give them 4 to maybe like 6 to 8 weeks from start to finish.
Oh, okay, start to finish. Okay, cool.
So,
What kind of pieces do you guys enjoy creating, and who would you say you create for?
So sometimes I don't dictate who comes to me. Some things are quite, I think in England, just me, even if I live in London, sometimes I say engagement rings are my bread and butter, right? Some of the engagement rings are quite traditional. So they're not as design heavy or design led as I
would enjoy. Yeah.
not enjoy, but it's just, it is what it is.
Well, I guess that's your opportunity to like express your creative flair. And if people want something traditional, there's less room for
creativity.
Yeah.
But I do love when people come with alternative or unorthodox engagement rings. I love that, and I love the story. Some people come like this person who's an architect. It's always
because they understand like sculpture and like
the
structure.
architect. When an architect comes to me, I'm like, I know it's going to be an interesting job. I know. And he did one recently, just before Christmas, where it was about coral. Like there was a history and name because both of his Chinese name and her kind of Caribbean name means coral, and they're together, and it's diversity, and it's an interracial couple. There was so much narrative, and there's so much stuff. They used a black diamond, and I was just like,
okay,
yeah.
I want to say this, right?
Go ahead.
For my engagement ring, when I went shopping, I said to, where did I go? I went Hatton Garden. Forgive me, I didn't know.
Fine.
Okay,
I'm there. That's good.
And I said I wanted a black diamond. Oh no, you can't. You
Why?
can't have that.
Why?
It's like, why? They was like, no, we just don't recommend that you have a black diamond. They bought one. They didn't. No, did they have one? They didn't have one. And I was like, when I come back, could you have one that I could like try and see? Because like I had my vision. Like I was like, I want it gold band. I want a black diamond. I feel like it'll be like really nice, really kind of edgy. They basically was just like, no, you can't have this.
Why? Well, tell me.
I agree with that.
Really?
Yeah.
They were like, I think something to do with like the light, like it's very dull. They was like,
yeah,
maybe for another piece of jewelry, but not for your
Right?
engagement ring.
People buy diamonds because it is the most reflective out of all the stones. It reflects every little bit of light out. And that's why they shine bright. Well, because shine bright like a diamond. Black diamonds. What are you getting it for? It's just going to absorb. It's just going to be a black spot.
Okay. But I'm gonna stick up for this one.
Thank you.
Stick up for this one.
I had a vision.
No. I know you had a vision. It's wrong.
I
wrong vision.
I know. Yeah, but so this is where me and you're gonna disagree. Yes, I agree with you. The way how mathematically the light, how it goes through the diamond, like a normal diamond,
the refraction.
It's very important. You know, that's what people are paying for and stuff like that. But for this one, it was more a narrative of why they wanted so it's just like I thought was interesting.
I get that.
But if you're talking about if you want sparkle, if you want status, you want prestige, you want that timeless thing, you want to resell, all that kind of stuff. Go with a white diamond.
It wasn't about the sparkle for me. So I tried to like get like a champagne diamond. But like I love my ring.
Disclaimer.
But it's like it's not like as brown as I wanted. Like I wanted it like more like champagne-y, more like so you could see the color. But where my husband got it done, the woman was basically saying to him, oh, like once she puts it on her finger, like the color from her hand will make it more brown. And I'm like,
they just don't want to do it. They just don't want to do it. Basically,
diamonds don't like anything through.
Well, this is what she was telling
him. They never let diamonds. That's the joy of diamond. You could draw a black line across a piece of paper and hold a diamond over it. You will not see that line.
Right.
Well, you do it with sapphire, you'll see the lines, but not a diamond.
I feel like I was
champagne, you can get many. You can get darker ones.
We'll wait a couple of years and
I
introduce this idea.
Look, okay, but just to put a pause on the conclusion of this is like disclaimer. Get what you want. It's good that they informed you of or your husband the pros and cons, but I would just say get what you feel what is right. You're going to be
the one wearing it for the rest of your life.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
So make sure you're happy with it.
And sort of Hatton Garden, when you go in Hatton Garden, they just have their idea of like this is how it is. and they're not as creative, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's why you have to go to probably independents, and they can.
Yeah.
I think just that whole process, I didn't really know, and I did a lot of research on YouTube, and I was obviously using Pinterest, and just kind of like fumbling my way through, because I was never the person that was like had a picture of like my wedding or
Yeah.
my ring. Like that just wasn't me. So
Yeah.
like it was my husband was like, well, at the time my boyfriend was like, do you know what kind of ring? No, he's like, do you think you should maybe like start looking? I was like, should I start looking? And then he was like, you should go with your friends and just like go look at some rings. But that it wasn't in my full.
My advice would be always don't go to Hatton Garden, go to Old Bond Street.
Okay.
Reason is because those companies like Van Cleef, Chopard, Cartier, Boodles, they don't let designs out for about 5 years after they've designed them. Because
Right.
they test them all.
Right.
They make the models up, they see them in the design studios and make sure they're all the balance, proportion, everything's right. They wear them, make some models, get people to wear them, see how they feel and all that before they go out to the floor. So they are perfect before they go out. Whereas Hatton Garden's a lot more commercial. They just try to churn stuff out.
Yeah.
You got to think, if you're putting a 300 grand stone in a ring, you're going to make sure that stone is going to stay in that ring. So the good thing is you get to try on all these stones for a day. Just might as well have fun with it.
It definitely was like a fun experience. It's not something, well, not something I do on a regular basis. So that was definitely quite fun for sure. Again, you guys have touched on, you know, your experience of working for others, and now you have your own shop, you have your own studio practice. What has been your experience working for others versus having your own practice?
Can I be short and brief, and then you can go with your story? Right. Remember I was saying that it was really, really hard. I couldn't get a job in the jewelry sector for whatever reason. That even they say they have a job, you see it there, you turn up, you go receptionist, and then they don't. Anyway, what I had to do, or what I remember, I was knocking on doors. I volunteered to even be a volunteer, not get paid to do stuff.
You volunteered to volunteer?
I just volunteered to volunteer at different places because I couldn't get a job. So I was cleaning a lot of casting. So when casting, how do you explain it? Like silver or gold.
It has a kind of mottled skin to it.
Yeah.
When it comes back from casting.
Okay.
So you just you clean up the metal to make it pre-shiny. You clean it. You're taking out all of the horrible.
Exfoliating the metal.
Yeah, exfoliating the metal. That's the perfect thing to say. Exfoliating the metal before it gets polished. I was doing that, and these people promised, "Oh, I'm gonna tell you stuff about the industry." They didn't. They just used me for months. And it was terrible. So what I said, I'm sick of trying to volunteer and get into the industry. I'll just start myself. Because it's very expensive.
Yeah,
when you're in a workshop,
the experience you learn from doing that.
I don't need to, like, in the most loving way.
You do learn
pebbles,
quite a bit.
Silver pebbles, like what I learned to.
It's surprising. It's surprising. It does add up.
Maybe later on. Maybe you're not seeing it just yet.
It does add
maybe.
up.
I want to know
you
that.
have no fingertips, but yeah, it does.
Yeah,
add up.
basically. So that's short and sweet. So that's how I had to set up, because I had no choice. If I had my life again, you be an apprentice, you learn on someone else's dime, you learn all the technical stuff, you learn workshop etiquette, you learn production, not theory, doing a course, you learn real
practical,
life.
yeah.
The difference for me, well, you go from working for one boss to working for 30.
Right, in terms of your clients.
Yeah, and they all have, so you have to be very much a chameleon in how you speak to people, how you deal with people. You have to be very careful with your timing, and be like Kassandra was saying, you have to be very brutal with who you're taking on as clients, because a lot of these people are time wasters. And you've got to appreciate that, fair enough, there might be some jobs you don't earn a lot of money on, but you have rapport with that person. They're a lovely person. You don't mind doing their work for them. Others you might be earning an absolute fortune from, and you're like, I can't stand you, so it's not worth it.
I know that one.
So it's that kind of balance. It's very much, when you start off, you will take everything on. Just don't overstretch yourself, because your quality will start dropping, and that's your reputation. So be very, very strict with yourself. To only take on as much as you can handle. Otherwise, it turns into a nightmare. So, and make sure you have because our trade is split into different skill sets. So whether you do diamond mounting, which is an 8-year like learning curve, do stone setting, which is you set the stones in the job. That's another 8 years. Engraving, that's another 8 years.
It's looking like a lot of time.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why in England, they train you individually. You take an apprenticeship or you learn that trade fully.
Yeah, it makes sense. Otherwise, you're
So
spending
you become a master
32 years.
Yeah, and so it's all these different things that you need to make sure you have a trusted team around you, that when it comes to stone setting, you can trust them not to break the blasted stone that you've just spent however many hours making a job for, and an enameler not to melt your job when you're putting when they're enameling their bits in. So it's that. Make sure you have your close team there that you can work with, and they're all prepared to take your pieces when they know it's coming in the pipeline, so they can kind of organize. And then once you do that, and everyone, you help out the people you work with. Like a lot of people I work with, I don't charge them because we do favors for favors. It's kind of, what's the point? You're going to ask me to do a job for you soon,
so they potentially have their own like practice or whatever, and you're like, look, I've got a client that needs Could you do some diamond mounting for me or whatever?
Time, yeah, and else, it's all,
So what you just mentioned, I didn't get, which is not don't do my route, is social capital. So when you're in the workshop and you work with different people, you build this social network or work and professional network, and you build that trust. So when I paid my thousands of pounds to learn basic stuff, right, and put out into the wilderness, I didn't know what to talk to. I didn't know how to talk to anybody. And then
honestly, the most amount of people I've met in this industry is via socials. So but when I started in the industry, there were a lot more in the West End. There were a lot more workshops there. So you just go to the pub on a Friday, and more than likely it would be laced with jewelers, designers,
any career. It's like it just in this country takes place in the pub.
That's it. And
I'm gonna wind it down, guys. Okay. So there's a lot of focus and a lot of attention on fashion in terms of a form of self-expression, visual expression. What would you say is the importance or the impact of jewelry in one's self-expression? Cassandra's like, no, Darren?
I've got an answer, but I want...
All right. I would say jewelry, it reflects the person's personality or their feeling of that time. I met a lady who has a different suite of jewelry per clothing she wears. So whether it be sapphires, rubies, emeralds, peridots, whatever.
She got money.
Yeah, she doing good. So I think and also that's why I find making jewelry, especially when you're doing bespoke stuff, you are capturing that person's personality at that point, which is, for me, you're not really making it for that person. You're making it for the person they're going to pass it on to. So you're always making like future heirlooms. And that's kind of why I spend so much effort and time in creating things, because you need to realize like jewelry is made in precious metals. It's going to outlive all of us if it's made well. So take your time, and appreciate that person's personality within that piece. And once when you see bespoke engagement rings on people, you can kind of tell the difference between a shop bought one or a nicely made bespoke piece that the person's put their personality into. It might be something really simple, like I want a diamond on the inside, something random, but it's still very personal to that person, and it kind of shows, and you can tell when they're talking about the piece of jewelry as well, because like, oh my god, I designed this myself, and they can speak for hours on it, as opposed to, yeah, he bought me this, didn't really like it, but I actually wanted this one. It all kind of changes.
I love that you touched on that with the precious metals. They live beyond us. Yeah. And so the fact that you guys are creating pieces that will have legacy long after you're here is insane to think about. It's almost like thinking about like architecture, but even that will come and go and be destroyed and whatever. But jewelry, like you guys are living forever.
Ever. It's like personal biographies, how I see it as well, emotional wearable art, all these types of things, which I feel like in the UK we don't give enough respect. to the jewelry. It's kind of fashion and jewelry is split. If you go to America, it's like usually together. What's very important to highlight is like for me as a jeweler, as a person, say like in the workplace, right? Obviously, you can be a black woman, whatever. Sometimes you get censored if you're certain workplaces with your hair, how you dress, how
Right.
you speak, and I felt like jewelry is the only thing where I was not censored. All right, you know, we did say jewelry is quite restrictive, but I could put anything on, and that's the talking point, and I'm not going to be discriminated or feel that I am any microaggression about my jewelry, unless if it's like hoops or something. But apart from that, I felt very liberated through jewelry than my clothes. And also, I can put like different meanings and different narratives in there. So I just feel like there's so much we can do for a small surface area, which can live forever, memories, mementos, whatever. But I just feel like we need to really give that respect to jewelry, especially fine jewelry. I don't think we do that in this country. Quick thing. When I went to Scandinavia, I know Scandinavia is a beautiful country, so I think went to Sweden and Norway and Denmark. When if something's made in silver jewelry, it's seen as like the same esteem as a gold piece of jewelry.
Right.
Over here, when you see silver jewelry,
Like,
they're like,
what?
oh, it's silver. But it's the same labor I'm doing in silver and the same labor I'm doing gold. So that's what I really respect. Like sometimes certain countries, like the Scandinavian country, they really respect their craft. They protect their craft. You hardly see for jewelry if you go to a Scandinavian country, a foreign jeweler. Here
Right.
you have this person, that person, American, this,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't. I rarely saw like even an American brand in their airports. Everything is Scandi,
Right.
everything. So it's. I just feel like the British people. If there's any policymakers, please support the British jewelry trade and British craftsmanship in jewelry like a lot, and safeguard it like other countries do.
That's really interesting and not something I think you think about often. Um, what would what advice would you give to someone who is trying to define or find their jewelry aesthetic, their own like voice or form of expression in jewelry?
I think jewelry is like art. So if something resonates with you, that's what you need to go with. You know, I've been caught out too many times. You go, I'll come back for that, and it's gone. Like, no, if you like it, get it. If you really like the design, find out the designer. Send them an email. Anything on Instagram, just say really like your design. Saw it in the shop, really cool. Reach out to them. You don't know where it's going to go. But I would say just see them as a piece of art. It's not jewelry is not a throwaway thing. It's the fashion industry does have it as a very quick turnaround. This is seasonal and this and the other. It's not. Jewelry is not that kind of thing. It should be seen as you should be investing in timeless piece of jewelry that goes with every season. You know, I'm not really saying just traditional jewelry, because traditional jewelry has its place, but there is also timeless fashion jewelry, or you know, more commercial jewelry.
Right.
There is timeless stuff out there, so just look for stuff that resonates with them and go with that. Like reach out to the designers or check the designers and their circles and what they like, and you just don't know where the rabbit hole is.
Yeah, and I think to the point of like just reaching out or even bookmarking it for another point, like maybe you don't, like if you're on a budget, maybe you don't have the funds right now, at least you have that person in mind so that when you are in that position to really start investing in jewelry, then you can be like, I know who my designer is. Do you know what I mean?
And usually in a jeweler's collection, I'm learning the there's like not hierarchy. There's like a way how you sometimes you do your jewelry collection. There usually is an entry
Like
price.
yeah.
So usually, so it might be a bit simpler or whatever, but it is affordable. So it's not always, as I said, research design is always something
you'd be surprised. Like most, even like the big players out there, you email them and you know if they're independent but they're very well established, they probably will try to help you out as best they can, because they love the idea of someone else
Loving and wearing their
and
stuff.
like sharing their personality with someone else. So I wouldn't say, oh bloody hell, they're too high up, they're not even going to want to talk to me. If they've got time, they will. They are just people at the end of the day, and they are creative people, so they're always interested in finding out what you're vibing with. So it's well worth just reaching out to them and just having a word. You never know.
Appreciate that. Final question, guys. What's next for you? You guys have dropped so much wisdom. You've shared so many like really interesting, funny, passionate stories and anecdotes. What's next for you guys? You spoke about wanting to do a book, right?
Process of doing it. Yeah, I'm writing a jewelry book.
Wait, was this a coffee table book? Did we touch on this when
not
we
a
spoke?
Yeah, probably at the time it's coffee, but it's more of a like just an exploration. So it's like an expanded lyrical essay about like memoirs and how I feel about jewelry and my outlook about jewelry. That's that. But jewelry wise, what's next for me? America. I'm gonna hopefully break America soon.
I love that for you.
Because I feel like the Americans are more receptive, especially New York and Chicago, more receptive of what I do.
I think as well, like with your like personality and like your energy and your passion, I feel like that is like
I'm telling you,
more appreciated in the US. I feel like the UK.
I feel like I'm a trapped American in a British Jamaican body, because when I talk to the like even for entrepreneurship, people just help you out. Like Americans, they'll just help you. You don't even. It's not even like you're begging friend. They want to help you, because if people see you trying in America, they'll help you. Here, you have to
play the game a little bit.
I'm not playing games. It's just one thing. UK life.
Hear that.
But on a positive note, and also doing more 18 karat gold. So I'm hopefully talk to Darren after this and help me with my collection. When I mean help, just tell me some good pointers, because technically, he's great technically and everything on his design. So I just ask him for his professional opinion.
The pressure.
The pressure.
And what about for you, Darren? What's next? You have your own shop, got a breadth of experience, 25 years in the industry.
Yeah.
Is there anything that is left for you to do?
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna try to get some more of my collection and stuff together. I've got a big at Goldsmiths Fair this year.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, right?
Oh, okay.
Sorry, that is big. Okay, that is big. When you see me try to play things.
Until she like class, like I didn't know that this was a thing.
Yeah,
this is like the #1 jewelry show in the UK.
Yeah, okay, amazing.
Fine jewelry.
Is this your first time?
First time in there.
Amazing.
So, but yeah, so that's going to be quite good. So that's going to be the week of October 2nd. I think I'm in there.
Why was this not in your bio?
Yeah. It's all right. I'm also speaking at doing a workshop at the JVA conference in Loughborough, the Jewellery Valuers Association.
Oh, okay.
Doing that in September.
Amazing.
Hopefully, if it comes out, I may be speaking in Macau as well.
Okay.
One other.
Macau.
Just outside of Hong Kong.
You see how he just name drops and doesn't explain things and then disappears.
That one hasn't happened.
So before that, he was going to I'm taking over, but it's like Dubai and all this stuff. He pretends like he's low key, like doesn't do anything. That's good.
So,
he's high key.
A few more speaking engagements hopefully in future, but mainly just trying to work on my collection and trying to get things out and see where that takes me really.
So
I've got a few more really cool clients coming through who I'm just speaking to.
Okay.
But, if they don't come through, it doesn't really bother me too much.
It'd
be fun to make, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. So
fair enough. Well, I want to see everything that you guys are doing, so we'll definitely try and like share stuff on the platform as and when things drop. When the book is out, we'll like push that too. So yeah, thank you guys, man. I'm just so thankful. Whenever like guests come and they're just really honest about their journey and their story and just drop in like advice for people coming into the industry, I'm just so appreciative. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you for letting us come on and chat and picking Darren and me. This is great.
I know that each other, and I'm so glad, because being in the same industry, you're gonna have a rapport, but having like a level of connection makes it even better. So yeah, thank you guys.
All right.
For episode 4.
This is what's supposed to happen, so I can see you and touch you.
That's it.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Be sure to subscribe for more insightful content. For insights and resources on related topics, head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/Enjoy the Collective. We're continually crafting tools to help you and your creative business to thrive. If you're catching us on platforms like Spotify, Apple, etc., be sure to like. Your ratings and feedback truly make a difference in helping us to grow. Finally, a heartfelt thank you to the creatives who made this season possible. Braid Films, Woomzum, with music by Tracy Soothes. This podcast was recorded at Us Two Studios in London. Thank you for tuning in, and remember to always enjoy.